You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the August 2024 regular council meeting for the Municipal District of St. Stephen. I'm Florence Mitchell.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth. Today's meeting begins with a presentation by Lorraine Justison on a wheelchair-accessible bus. Under new business, Mayor McEachran will make a proclamation for Terry Fox Day. Requests for decisions will be made for several items, beginning with the motion that Council authorizes an expenditure on a contract to clean up the property located at 34 Rose Street under the Dangerous or Unsightly Premises bylaw.
Council will move to approve the renewal of St. Croix Public Library Board member Elva Hatt for a 2-year term. Council will also move to sign a notice of planned exploration work within municipal boundaries submitted by Galway Metals Incorporated. Additionally, Council will move to change the date of the September regular Council meeting to October 2nd and the date of the October Committee of the Whole meeting to October 16th.
Council will move to approve the disposition and acquisition of municipal land policy. Council will also move to postpone any decision on the Station Square designation request until after the rebranding exercise is completed by the end of next year. Finally, Council will motion to approve a memorandum of understanding regarding an economic development partnership agreement, subject to approval by other parties involved in the agreement.
The final decision of the night will be that Council awards a contract for assistance with financial reporting to MNP LLP. Finally, Council will review correspondence from the Safer Communities and Neighborhoods Program, or SCAN, and the St. Croix Public Library's 2023 Annual Report. Now let's join Council in the Moosehead Room at the Garceland Civic Center in St. Stephen.
Welcome everyone to the Municipal District of St. Stephen Council agenda, Wednesday, August 28, 2024 at 6 p.m. Everyone's here. Marga's out this evening, or Councillor Harding, sorry. Before we begin, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered today on the ancestral unceded territory of the Passamaquoddy peoples. And let's see, next up, I'd like to have a mover and seconder for the agenda for the regular council meeting of August 28, 2024 be approved. So moved. Councillor Heislip. Second. Councillor Wright. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Any conflicts of interest this evening? Seeing none. Okay. I need another mover and seconder for the minutes of the regular council meeting held on July 31st, 2024. So moved. Councillor Eastman. I'll second. Councillor Rodas. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And we'll take another mover and seconder for the minutes of the special council meeting held on August 7th, 2024 be approved as presented. So Deputy Mayor Wheaton, Councillor Heislip. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Okay. Next up, we get the public delegation. It's a wheelchair accessible bus presentation by Lorraine Justison. Hi, Lorraine.
Hello, how are you?
See you again.
Oh, yes. I told you you'd see me. No, I have no doubt either.
No, I appreciate you coming. So
Yes.
The floor is yours.
What I'm trying to do, I'm looking for all the support I can get from all the communities. I'm going from Musquash right to Campobello Island. And I'm trying to get a community wheelchair accessible bus for everybody. It's not just for one-on-one, it's for everybody. It's for groups of people. It's for disability, it's for ones that's in the wheelchairs, and it's for people that's in rural areas that can't get out. This way here they can go. Even if they want to go for a coffee, they can get this bus and go in groups. And also, I'm starting my own nonprofit organization, and I've got David Ames looking at it, and he told me to make sure I mention his name, so I'm going to. And I'm also looking for anybody that would be willing to be on my board. That's here. So, but yeah, no, this is what I'm trying to do. There's only one child at Darwright has one wheelchair on their van. They can only take one person. This way here, anybody that needs to go somewhere, it's not just going to be for hospitals or whatever. I was talking to a lady here not too long ago from St. Stephen. She was at the grocery store, and her daughter's in a wheelchair. And I told her what I'm trying to do. She said, oh, I wish you could get it. I hope you get it. She said, because her daughter can't go nowhere because she's in the wheelchair. There's nothing here. And I said, well, anybody with sports? Well, she said, yes. They would love to be able to go with their friends or whatever in school. And I said, this is what I'm trying to aim for. So it's for everybody. It's for kids with disability. Even support dogs are allowed on the bus. I'm not leaving anybody out, vision impaired or whatever. Whoever I figure needs this bus and wants to be able to use it, that's what I'm going for. So if anybody has any questions, you can ask me.
Questions from council? Deputy Mayor?
I can't find it. I'm sorry. Like I was looking at your report, you have certain dates when things are going to be done.
Yes.
But some of the dates we've already gone by, right?
Well, yes, there is, because I'm trying to get everybody's support. There's certain things that I will do later. I know. Some of the presentation is ahead, but what I'm trying to do. But everybody was away for summer, so you can't expect the help that you need or go to see them. So now September's here, school's getting back in, and I'm going back at it full force again. So whatever I need, I'll be getting the help. And I've been talking to Raymond Funk. He's right behind me. And he's been giving me a lot of help and a lot of suggestions and everything. So, and John Craig in St. George, he's backing me. And I have one of the council members in St. George that's on my board. So yeah, anything that I can do, if anybody's got any suggestions, I'm more than willing to listen to them.
2016, there was a committee looking for transportation, right? And there was quite a group involved with that. And Stan Choptiani, he was the mayor in St. Andrews. He was the chair, and he did a tremendous amount of research. So I'm wondering, like, I think he would be a good person to contact because he would have a lot of
Yes. I'm trying to find anybody that's willing to help, I'm more than willing to listen to them. And I'm trying to get anybody that's on the boards from like in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even seniors. So that way there I got a variety. It's not just one, and it's men and women. It's not going to be all women and all men. I want them different. So that way there, and I don't care what nationality they are, as long as they can understand me and I can understand them, hey, I'm happy. You're welcome.
Yes, no, thank you. And I know you met with us at the Regional Service Commission before a meeting there, and and I can't speak for the whole board, but I myself am supporting it through the Regional Service Commission, and we do have that on our table out there. So and yes, and there's federal funding too that's very tied to that. So the reason I wanted you to come here because I wanted to make sure that my council understood, so they can support me on my decision out there. So.
I want to as well. I want to talk to all the mayors and councils in all the regions. I'm going to go to Campobello and St. Andrews. I've already talked to Brad Henderson, but I'm going to be in front of all the council there too. I want everybody on board. I just don't want a few. And so that they know what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, so.
You nice to get someone on that board from each area in this region. Yeah.
Yep. Got one from St. George, and that's why I just asked somebody in St. Stephen would like, and I'm going to try the same in St. Andrews, and same as Musquash in them. And I've got a lot of the seniors' homes right now behind me, and a lot of the seniors are supporting me in everything that I'm trying to do. I've even talked to some of the school teachers, and they're right behind me. So this is what I'm trying to do.
Positive. I think. Yeah.
I will have a bus. If it ain't this year, I will have a bus next year.
Yeah, you said that. Matter what, yeah, you're going to get a bus. Yeah, I think we actually found one. Actually, didn't we? Yeah. All right. Okay. No, thank you so much, and thank you for presenting to council. Okay, I appreciate it. Okay. No more further questions, was there? Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, need a mover and seconder for the report of the Chief Administrative Officer be acknowledged and received.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Greenlaw, Councilor Wright, and we'll approve it after you. Are there any questions for the report, or if you have anything to share?
Thank you, Your Worship. The text of the report was in your package that was covered the period before the time of writing. Wanted to start with addressing probably the hottest topic in town right now. Relates to some disconnection notices that went out to multi-unit residential properties in our community over the last little while. Those were sent in accordance with council policy and posted in accordance with council policy. At the same time that those were being posted, my office, largely through Celeste, we immediately made contact with the Reynoldsman's office from New Brunswick Housing, knowing the impacts, the potential impacts of a water shutoff on a number of families across our community, and trying to take mitigation steps right from the get-go. We had to do our notices and to comply with legislation, but we wanted to see what we could do on the front end before we got to a point of time where we felt our hands were forced to turn bells. Fortunately, through Celeste's hard work, earlier this week, Mayor McEachran and I were able to sit down in person with the senior staff from the Reynoldsman's office, the chief Reynoldsman's office, the deputy chief, and one of their agents, all came in person, knowing the severity of the situation and acknowledging the challenges we were having. As a result of that meeting, I'm happy to say at this time that no water was shut off to those particular properties dealing with the landlord situation. And it is our intention, based on a negotiated agreement with the Reynoldsman's office, that water will not be shut off. Timeline is, I would say it will not be shut off in the short term. The Reynoldsman's office will be conducting their investigation. As of just before the meeting, email that I got from the office, from my contact, says that they will be sending a team down probably the end of next week to go door to door and talk to all residents to assess each and every individual case and to determine whether or not they have jurisdiction to intercede. A lot of that will do with their legislation, of which I'm not an expert, but a lot of it has to do with whether or not you can prove you were made attempts to pay rent or putting a rent aside because of collection not being done, whatever. That does open a number of powers for the Reynoldsman's office to go into alternate scenarios, which would include potentially collecting rent from people and paying bills, whether it's to us or other service agencies that may be in a backlog. So at this time, we are in a position at any time to make the decision to turn off the water administratively, and with the blessing of His Worship after our meeting, we've made the decision to delay that and give the Reynoldsman time to do their work in good faith. They are going to do everything in their power to see that we collect as much of the money that's outstanding to us as possible, because one of the reasons we go down shut-off routes, of course, is when we provide water and don't collect on our fees, those fees have to be picked up somewhere, and they get picked up by everybody else on the system who are paying rates, and the rates go up because revenue didn't come in that we expected. So it's a balancing act between doing what's right for the community, doing what's right for people who are in tough positions, and dealing with the ratepayers of the utility system, and finding a fair balance there and how we can balance the books that way. So that's where we're at today as we sit here right now. I say the next big step will be a team of, and they're bringing a number of people to hit those door-to-doors coming in next week to do their initial assessment and make a game plan moving forward. So we'll keep you posted on what we know, but for now we've agreed to hold off on the shutoffs until they've done their work. So that's the big one there. Other things in the budget and the report, our financial services review, it continues. There was a slight delay in timing, just getting through some things. So we're looking at early October for the presentation of their findings and their recommendations. The project continues to go well. It was just, we got a lot of data, and some of our team members from Tim's office are making sure that the consultants are very well educated on how we do things around here, right down to the minutia, which sometimes takes some time to get through. It's kind of scary to say it, but Budget 2025 is in full swing as we about ready to turn the calendar into September. We do have a November 15th deadline for having our budgets passed. So we're working hard on the front end, on our end, to get things ready to bring in front of you for public discourse. As the report notes, again, we are planning public consultation sessions in October, dates to be confirmed. But that is consuming a fair bit of time in my office. We have been working on an RDC application to get funding to do pre-construction work to extend the municipal services to the property east of the Beacon Apartments, which is a site we own and we are hoping to develop. So far discussions have been very, very positive, and the staff have been working at RDC have been working very hard to get our approvals through. So we are expecting that to come through very quickly. And the last thing in my report is the bittersweet item that our treasurer, Mr. Tozer, has gave me notice of his intention to retire as our treasurer. Obviously, happy and a little bit jealous for him, but he will be certainly missed around the office, and certainly his skills in making the numbers dance, because as he knows, I'm a words guy and he was always the numbers guy, and that's how we got through things. But congratulations to Tim on his many years of service to our community, and glad he was able to join us for one last go around around this table.
I'm giving them tough questions. And seriously, congratulations, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And I mean, I'll talk to you again. You're not done today or anything, but I appreciate all your time. You 100% can.
Yeah, just wanted to mention I'm certainly appreciative of council, the current council, and all the past councils that I've worked with since 2001. So I've worked with a lot of councils and a lot of people, and one thing about working for a municipality is never dull, that's for sure. So again, I appreciate everything, and right up to you guys, of course, as well, for all the opportunities that you've given me, and the chance to serve the town. So thank you. Okay.
Yes, thanks again, Tim. And, is that?
So with that, Your Worship, I'm happy to take questions on the report, or, but yeah, that concludes my report.
Yeah, so I just before there's any questions, I just want to comment on your first topic. It was a very eye-opening experience. It brought to light more than just water. It was actually, not that we didn't know these things were kind of going on, but it really brought to light some serious issues. You know, the shape of some of these buildings, and it was promising to see the three provincial rentalsmen, the chief and acting, or whoever they were. They came, and we talked to them on Friday, I believe, and then they were here Monday morning at 11. So it was good. That was very promising to see that. So let's hope that they get out there and gather the information and take care of these people and clean up this mess. It's a mess, and I will say, I asked the question, have you seen this anywhere else in the province? And they did not. It's a very unique situation. Although I had people reach out from other provinces about the similar thing going on, and so it's not just unique to the province neither, but it is. We're the only ones that have this. I should say in Charlotte County. This is reaching up to St. George as well, and Penfield. So anyway, we're going to do our best to help these citizens out, and all the other things too. So anyway, so we'll keep constant touch, and I appreciate the staff's work on that too, and along with it. So anyways, sorry to take the floor on that, but it's an important topic and it's very disturbing. But anyway, any more questions, or Councillor Heislip?
Just have a comment. First of all, congratulations, Tim. Have to preface that you'll be looking for stuff to do now in your retirement. So, Tim Hortons is open. Tim Hortons is open early in the morning. We're there. No, thanks for the update on the whole water situation. The emails that were coming, and you know, it's good that the public finally has a little bit of, and it was well done, that presentation, because I heard a lot of things this morning that were just misinformation and rumor that kind of flies around with these things, but I think you've straightened it out pretty well, that, you know, some of these things are in our hands a little bit, but most of it is outside of our jurisdiction and outside of our bylaws and everything else. So I'm glad you set that straight. And so thanks for that, Jeff.
Yes, you're right. We certainly didn't create that situation, but we definitely we all got to do our part to help them out. But anyways, any more, Councilor Rodas?
I think what's challenging with the notices that go out is they get posted on a door and tenants see it, but yet they don't own the building. So it is challenging with absentee landlords when it's just overwhelming when it says on or after. And when the notices went out, I surely knew that we had wonderful intentions underneath to kind of take action and address an issue that we've been having that's been ongoing for months. So I am really pleased to know that. I think that it's not a bad idea. I know, Your Worship, you had shared an email, a statement about who to contact at the province, why to contact them. That's not a bad idea to continue to share that on social media, because there may be other things that come up or other notices that go out. But I just think sometimes the why is really important for people to understand, like why we have to go through these hard steps in order to get to the other side. But I certainly can appreciate the fear that so many single moms, and you get that notice on your door, it can create a lot of anxiety when your rent hasn't been deposited for 6 months. So I also appreciate the residents who went out of their way to come to the Civic Center and attempt to pay the water bill, which I thought was astounding. That just goes to show you how committed our citizens are to, you know, remaining in St. Stephen and trying to live well here. So I'm happy that you were able to connect with the rentalsmen, and I'm happy that they're also much more aware. They've been here, they're on the ground, and I certainly learned, you know, some disturbing things as well about heat and power and a lot of other things that were going on that we weren't aware of previously. So please let us know if you're out there and you're listening and you have issues and your apartment was not involved in this first kind of sweep, then we need to know these things so we can take it up and move forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. And that's the end of your report. I had a mover and a second already, and if no more further questions, all those in favor of accepting the CAO's report?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And thank you, Jeff, for your report. And, oh, geez, we're already here. All right. So the next up is public comment period. Is there any in the public? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Emil, if you didn't catch last month. Emil. I'm not sure where to start. A couple of rebuttals on last month, quickly, if I may. First one, can I? Yes?
Is it on the agenda this evening?
Okay, moving on then. Okay, question one. Your Worship, I'm still trying to find out why I'm being taxed like I've got a 9-bedroom mansion. I've been left to my own devices to find the answer, and I've come up with 4 causes. Our tax rates are not aligned across the town. The rates are not being adjusted annually to account for inflation. We're over-allocating financial resources and have failed to expand our revenue capabilities. I currently have 4 unanswered questions. Why were tax rates not adjusted to account for property value increases over the past few years? You don't have an answer? Does anybody have an answer?
Well, you said it, inflation. Yeah, I mean,
I'm questioning why tax rates weren't adjusted to account for that. So as property values increase, right, your tax revenue increases as well. So if your budgets are staying the same, then one would think that your tax rates would decrease so that our annual tax payment doesn't increase. If you have budget increases, that's fine. I'm curious to what those have been over the last 4 years.
for clarification, I don't want to get into all these details this evening, but the tax rate, the multiplier has not been changed.
Correct.
For over
at least 7-8 years.
been here, so it's been more than that. But the last year we raised it 4 cents. Yeah, yeah. But also not everyone's assessment went up. All right, so it's challenging. Believe me, we've had these discussions. Trying if they would raise the assessments fairly across the board, that'd be great. But we don't have control of that.
Okay, but like in 2019, my property value went up by 20 grand. Your taxes didn't change. I'm assuming most other people's went up by 20 grand as well. 2020, 21, 22, 23, all were the same. Last year, my property taxes went up 120 grand. And I know the province communicated to the municipalities stating that there was going to be a large increase in property values this year and suggested that you lower it to accommodate. And we increased them here. So that's actually another question. Why did we do that?
So actually, we lowered the rates last year.
This year they were increased by 4%.
The year before last, yes. And that, yeah.
You said you haven't changed the rates in like 7-8 years. I'm sure last year they went up 4% as well. No. They went.
Or what, are we talking apples and oranges? Are you talking assessment or are we talking tax rate? Because that's the only thing we have.
I'm talking tax rate. So we can look at these numbers. I did send them to you in May, so we can definitely look at those offline. So why was that big increase required this year? Like I said, the tax revenue this year went up 14.21%. That's a big jump of money. Why was that needed this year?
If you want to know the truth.
Coming out of the pandemic, everybody needs more, right? But the question is why was all that pushed up on us this year? I don't see where the extra need was required. I understand you're telling me you need more, but I can't see where we need more. Still unanswered from last month. Are you planning to align the tax rates across the town?
Tax rate or the assessments?
Tax rate. Like between St. Stephen and Dufferin and everywhere else that was all a bunch of different communities, they all have different tax rates right now. Right? I'm in the center of the city where I'm paying an absolutely insane amount. So if you align those taxes across the town, then everybody would be more closely to paying their fair share. So why do I have to pay almost 3 times the amount than what I should be paying? Is that being considered in the budget this year?
It's been discussed, but the outcome's the outcome that you see.
I haven't seen the outcome for this year. I'm wondering about the budgets. So for next year, is my taxes going to go down? Plain and simple.
Your taxes going to go down?
Yes. Will my property taxes go down next year?
Depends on how the assessments come in. There's so many moving numbers. How funding gets allocated to our community. There's big numbers. We're still not there yet to know next year.
Because I was told that July and August is when you build your budget for next year.
Remember? Yeah. Anyway, back to agenda items, please. Okay. Yeah. Not.
We can take it later. Yeah.
Okay. No, appreciate that.
No push, yeah. So for those that don't know us, we're Linda and Herb Duplessis, and Herb said he follows me around, so. But I followed him to New Brunswick 42 years ago, almost 43, and I'm proud to call this my home. We're splitting up our 4 comments for tonight, so I get the first 2 and he gets the last 2, and then he can watch me walk back to my seat. So first, I want to thank Kev Sumner as Community Services. He has continued to support Herb's and my participation with Chocolate Fest and Sweet Spot Tennis. He makes sure that the courts are reserved for us. This year, we had 20 children from 22 months up to 12 years of age. And they all went through the challenge, and then 8, 9 to 12-year-olds stayed to play a single elimination tournament. And so we were real happy about that. The only glitch to the day was when we arrived, the bandstand had been terribly vandalized. There was vulgar graffiti all over it in multicolored paint. I already had witnessed how young children responded to graffiti when it appeared on Christ Church several months ago. Rose Mitchell's preschool was getting ready to enter the building. The children were in tears when they saw it. I looked at the bandstand and I was almost in tears. I felt sick to my stomach. After several phone calls between the town line, which was answered at the Civic Center by the receptionist, who linked me over to the fire hall because it was a holiday. Fire hall advised me that the RCMP were on, and I said, it's a holiday, they probably aren't going to be there. They said, oh no, they'll answer. But no, I got sent to the dispatch in Fredericton. Dispatch in Fredericton wouldn't commit to how long it would take to get a Mountie there. There were already 3 or 4 people in the bandstand, and while they saw me on the phone, they were, one left and went into the bushes where the encampment periodically ends up. Anyway, the Mounties did come. A town crew arrived shortly after the Mounties were there with paint cans and brushes and rollers. They had the entire bandstand painted over before the children and the parents arrived. So that was the only glitch. The parents couldn't be in the bandstand to watch, nor could the grandparents like they usually did, but we just had them set up lawn chairs on the grass. And it was a good day. So I really appreciate the town crew for responding as quickly as they did. And the constable took statement from the one person who stayed, who had left and actually came back before she was there. He left to go get his tablet out of the shrubs so that he could come back and say that he had only arrived at the bandstand to charge his. And so, anyway, there's that. The other items I'm going to let Herb talk about. I combined points 1 and 2 together. So thank you to Kevin, thank you to the town crew. Then bring that back for me.
Dare I say, good evening, former students. I'd like to thank some people. We really appreciate the quick response to our E11 complaints. We called a number of times regarding, as Lynn said, graffiti and mischief in the Memorial Park in Milltown. And I emphasize Memorial Park. It's a veterans park and should not be disrespected. So thank you for that. Now for the cranky part. I personally would like to express a safety concern regarding the area around the park, Queensway, Church Street, the park itself, the shrubs behind the park. Specifically, there is an individual who, the constable who responded to our graffiti call, said is known to law enforcement, who is roaming the streets of Milltown with a pair of bolt cutters over his shoulder and a bow and arrow. And quite frankly, it's frightening. So we're asking for some kind of either increased patrols or perhaps more vigilant application of manpower in the patrols that already exist. This is the second time we've seen him, and I can only speculate where the bow and arrow came from, but I will tell you that there was a break-in at a local sports store, and a chain link fence was cut open. I bring you back to the bolt cutters. So I don't have a specific request for you, but put that on your plate, please. It's kind of scary. I mean, maybe 20 years ago I might have thought otherwise, but I'm almost 80 years old now. I can't be chasing people around. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Herb. On that topic, I want to call you out, Brian, but Brian shared the picture with me today, and that has been reported. And thank you for bringing that up again. Believe it or not, that helps us, give us more strength, and we're talking about this with the police as well. Yeah, no, sure.
Just to go a little further on that, I received that picture either last night or early this morning, and Alan's right, and he got back to me as soon as possible. I got a notification off the sergeant RCMP, which we should do, and it was already reported by the time that I got there. The person that actually took the picture did report it. I guess the big concern is, as Herbie mentioned, bolt cutters kind of indicates that I left my keys in my shop and I had to go get them, or if they don't have something like that, they're out to no good because they're usually used to cut fences or padlocks. The thing that bothered me with the picture today, this young gentleman, lack of a better word, was carrying not just a bow and arrow, it was a compound bow, which is highly deadly. A bow and arrow sometimes is just for practice or firing at targets. This is meant to usually kill deer or other animals. And with him wandering the streets with that on his shoulder is no different than carrying a restricted fire weapon or having an FAC for carrying any kind of long arm or pistol or revolver. So I'm very concerned about this gentleman. The report's gone in, and I agree with Mr. Duplessis and his wife that this is really getting scary. When the guy comes down the street with a weapon, I just hope it's not loaded, which whatever. That's all I have to say.
Councilor Heislip?
I know we're not supposed to debate public delegation or anything, but we might have to have a discussion on the safety up there for sure, because last night there was a whole crowd of individuals there, and as somebody pointed out, I didn't know that the power was still hooked up there, and that's what they're mostly doing, is charging phones and charging tablets, as you pointed out there, and maybe we should have a shut-off for that underneath, that's locked underneath the building, so if we need it. Yeah, bolt cutter, yeah, I know. But at least it's a little bit of a deterrent if they can't go up there, because sometimes that's just what they do in the evening times, and sometimes they aren't too bad, but they're smoking there and they're swearing during people that are there, and there's young individuals and even adults don't want to listen to that when they're trying to do a sporting event. So leaving trash, yeah, there's puffers and everything else up there, like everything's on the ground, and I went up the other night there actually to cut some shrubs around the place because they were going through the fence, and yeah, it's just unbelievable what you pick up there in the evening times, and I think a lot of it, maybe even if it's 30% of charging things, maybe we should take a look at that and get a solution for some, just to deter it. I mean, if you can reduce it some, I don't know if we're going to eliminate it, but.
Yes. You want us to come up? Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
Chandra Best from Ward 3. So specific to the agenda, I have a few different items that I just wanted to touch on. And I'll try to go in order. So on the check register or the transaction register for the treasurer's report, there is an amount for the St. Croix Public Library for $10,229.25. So first of all, before I forget, I do want to mention that, or thank Joyce for Councillor Wright for all the questions that she's been answering for me. It's been really informative and really helpful and speedy, so it's been great. Thank you so much. So what I can tell is that we're tracking for a grant for the library for about $40,000 by the end of the year. So we've been giving them this amount every quarter. So my question about the library is, do they have to now for the new year apply for that grant the way that everybody else will need to apply for the grant?
We would normally receive a request from the library for the amount that they grant that they request for the grant on a yearly basis, and is considered by council at budget time.
So according with the new policy, it would be, okay.
Yeah, I thought that's where that question was going. So no, it's separate from the community grants fund. So it's typically the administration at the library provides me with a full copy of the budget, including their grant request it includes their grant request from us as a revenue item, and then I review that and work with the administration to make sure we're on the same page, and then it just gets included as part of the operating budget. So yeah, it wouldn't be part of the full grant application process that we built for community grants.
Okay, so then that would mean to say that under the community development section in the budget, where you see the grant for Future St. Stephen and all the other grants, that doesn't include the grant for the library then? It's under some other line item in the budget?
That will be under, it's under the section for recreation and cultural services and, with the budget for the library.
Okay, thank you. So this would be something that I would probably bring up during the budget process, which has already started, and we're going to have the public consultation in October, which Jeff just mentioned. So that would be something that I would want to bring up, because with the library, it's under provincial jurisdiction. We're already providing them with the building and the facilities. We're already upgrading or maintaining their building. We hear about work that's been done in the library all year long, and now we're giving them a grant that's not under the grant policy. And in my mind, if it's under the province, then why isn't the province giving them all the funding that they need? So I think that would definitely be an item for discussion during the budget process. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I know I can ask Joyce more questions, and she'll be very helpful. So thank you for the info. Next item, page 73, Future St. Stephen reports on the hotel. The way that it's worded makes me a little bit concerned. Like, we have some serious desire and need for that hotel. And the way that it's worded, it sounds like there's either a lack of communication or a concern that the ball is going to be dropped with regards to the current developer. So I just want to put it out there that that's worrisome to me. I would like to see more information about what's going on with the hotel. Maybe it's just the way the report's worded, and I'm sure that, I think it's Genevieve can report on that during her time on the agenda. I just wanted to bring that up. On page 86 now of the agenda, you talk about, or it's the application for the planned for Gateway and the gold mining exploration. I was thinking back to a few meetings ago when BRW, I think they came, and then the meeting afterwards, we had that form, which we see in the agenda today, was filled in or provided as a draft, and the discussion was that we wanted to make sure that we could see that the proof that consent had been provided by the property owner, and that it was more clear that it was actually a request. Because right now it's not clear that it's a request until you get to the second page, and then it says that, you know, we're seeking consent from council. So that's the first thing, is that we didn't see a revised form. But the second thing is, what I'm wondering about is there only one municipal plan that we're waiting for? Or is there a second separate plan that has to do with mining and exploration? And either way, we don't have either of those plans, and so my recommendation would be that council do not approve the request that's in here from Gateway. So I'll just leave that, because I know you're going to discuss it later. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is the new item that was added on Monday, and that has to do with the assistance with fiscal year 2024 financial reporting. So I see in here that I guess it's a firm in Toronto, is going to charge us for $101,300 to help us to wrap up 2024. Now, I presume there's no information in here to say that's because Mr. Tozier is retiring, and so we need help. So my concern is, of course, it's a ton of money, first of all. on top of what we've already paid Mr. Tozier for his salary all year long, right? And yes, they're doing more work. It's only talking about 2024, and we just mentioned last meeting that you need to hire a new firm to do the annual audits for the next, well, I'm assuming 5 years. You did for 5 years in 2019, so this contract is worth more than the contract we signed for 5 years with a firm in 2019. And the one item, which is the annual audit, that they're charging is $17,000 or $18,000, which the previous firm was charging, if you calculate it, divide by 5, $17,700. So I can see Jeff shaking his head that probably I'm not right, but I can tell you that what it looks like in here looks pretty bad, $100,000 for this work. And maybe it'll mean that we'll get everything done in time for the annual report next year. I don't know. But I just want to say that it was very alarming, and I'm really dismayed to see that, especially given the fact that we're heading into another year that's going to be very challenging from a budget perspective. I mean, I'm looking at a long list of things that this town needs to do, and this looks like it's a little too much. Anyways, thank you.
Oh, so sorry, we got someone else. Sorry.
I'm a little short, but you can see me, right? Good evening, everyone. In the past, I've come to council just to address some concerns. Tonight, I'm actually here to ask a few questions that hopefully you can answer. It may seem frivolous, but I would rather ask the question than just surmise things. On the agenda, there's a cleanup of 34 Rose Street. I may be wrong about this, but I thought any derelict properties were to remain confidential. If they are, can someone please clarify why this was added to the agenda for public knowledge?
Well, I'm going to let maybe Sean speak of that, but I believe it's because it's at the point that it can be, but because it made it through the process. But go ahead.
That's correct. The process leading up until right now is confidential.
Okay, great. So follow-up question. What is the status of the dangerous or unsightly premises? And I know that's two words that we all disagree on. Premises bylaw that council was looking at updating from the current version dated back May 2013. So I know that a couple of council meetings before, you guys were looking at modifying the bylaws around that?
Yeah, the MDSS did adopt a new bylaw that encompasses the entire municipal district. That was the change that needed to happen. It was as part of amalgamation and the municipal reform, but that was completed. Celeste probably knows better the number, but of the bylaw, but it was completed quite a while ago, actually.
Last year.
Quite a while ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just cut you off.
Apologies.
Yeah. So like this is what he's saying is the adjustment was to broaden it out to the whole district, but the process doesn't change, if I got that right? So it's still the same process, we just now can use the process in the whole district once that's in place. Okay.
Thank you. Under the budget item, and I think it was alluded to already about the budget coming up in October, so are all wards going to be represented at that meeting? And how would somebody that wanted to attend communicate that?
Sure. So we're still putting together the plans for the public consultation. Our intention is to hold a session here at the GCC. We're actively discussing making it a bit of a traveling roadshow as well, and heading out to Ward 3 and Ward 1 as well, if venues can be secured and things like that. Largely, the nice thing about here is we do have a little bit more readily, our technology is a little more readily available to do some of the presentation stuff, but we have been actively talking about getting out and trying to make it a little bit more accessible for the rural residents to come possibly in smaller groups to have a chat about the budget, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, Thank you for including the information on the safer communities and neighborhood bulletin, sorry. I'm sure a lot of residents did not know about this program. That said, SCAN is not the end-all to all the solutions going on in our town. I hope the Mayor Council continue to work with the community to look at solutions around the theft, drugs, illegal squatting, and homeless situation we are experiencing. Engaging the residents of the municipality is critical in obtaining buy-in to the solution, because when everyone is well-informed, leaving no room for speculation, rumors, or hearsay. I may not have been born here, but I did come and choose to live here. This town is worth fighting for, and I hope we all can come to some solutions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So is there, are you coming up there?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. David Whittingham, I live in Ward 2, which is the town. I've got a follow-up regarding the Starshine properties and the water cutoff. Could you tell us how many properties are involved in that?
They're personal matters. I don't even know. I know there's a bunch. You know, I know of some that I've seen, but no.
Well, obviously you initiated the shut-off and talked about it and sent out information. So how much is the municipality owed, the town owed, from those properties?
I don't believe we can answer that either. Can we?
Don't know the number.
It's a personal matter. No.
Can't tell you what your bill is either.
No. I can't. I don't even know what the bills are. Like
the municipality sent out a press release, which a lot of people saw. You know, that was posted by Vicky Hogarth on her page, that gave the process for tenants at these properties to follow, to contact the rentals board or whatever it is. So always some information has been put out there. Because I was just wondering, how much are we as residents, if those bills can't be paid, are we going to have to absorb that down the road? Or is there a mechanism, just like through the Dangerous and Unsightly Premises Act, if a building is pulled down, that a contractor does that, sends the bill to the municipality, who sends it on to the province, and that gets added on to property taxes to whoever owns, or if there's a sale, takes on ownership of that property. Is there a mechanism for the water bills to actually be sent to the province to be added to the property taxes? Is there any provincial legislation that allows that to happen?
Unfortunately, not in New Brunswick. It is a lien. It's a lienable charge, so it is a lien on the property. So where we get the most success in recovering past due amounts is at property sale, as the lawyers are balancing their transactions. Occasionally, we can get some of it back during tax sale if the property is taken by the province and put up for tax sale. Unfortunately, we tend to be very low on the priority list when it comes to settling the debts on those things for utility. So we have less luck through the tax sale process. But yeah, we don't have a mechanism where GNB will pick up those tabs for us. No.
Thanks very much. Regarding the building inspector's report, it mentions 8 unsightly properties that are being dealt with. And I'm just wondering if is that just an abbreviation of the dangerous or unsightly premises, or is that specifically related to unsightly premises? And that number typically most months is 5 or 6, and now we have 8 on there. Yeah, I don't.
So it is just for the TV feed.
In his report, he just abbreviated the full name of the bylaw. Okay, all right. And one final question. This is, and it's been very lengthy. This is the only the end of the month council meeting is the only one that there's a public comment period. And we've obviously gone over the 2 minutes per person, total of 10 minutes. Right. Absolutely. And I just wondered, and this is the meeting where council votes, on new bylaws or whatever, or choosing to spend money on various things, and there's things coming up later in the council meeting. But mid-month, there's the council of the whole meeting, which is a discussion time when the council does not make any vote on any decisions. And yet, there's no possibility at that meeting right now for the public to come up and speak like we've been doing for the last half hour. My question is, does the provincial legislation allow for public comment period at the council of the whole meetings? Or is that a decision of this council?
So there's a reason why there's a gap between committee of whole and council, because that allows people a couple of weeks to, if there's something that was spoke about and concerning, you reach out to a council member or the municipality and clarify whatever you saw with the decision, and you can encourage how a councillor votes with, whatever information or that you have. So that's why there's a gap between that. So you can always reach out, email.
Public opportunity for residents to voice their concerns or whatever, whether it's financial or otherwise. Yeah. Okay.
You can grab them before the meeting, or you can talk after the meeting, because there's no vote there neither, right? So you can get them before they vote.
That's why I was wondering. Public input doesn't involve a vote. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for your time.
Alrighty. Okay. Thank you. Okay, what do we got next here? Proposed resolution. I need a mover and seconder for departmental information reports be acknowledged and received. So I just get a mover and seconder. Okay, is that Councilor Wright? Councilor Greenlaw? So we'll leave it open as we go through the reports. The first one's Deputy CEO report, Protective Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First thing I'd like to mention is my reports, in particular my Protective Services report reflects the period between July 23rd and August 14th. I had to submit my report early this month because I was on vacation last week. So 27 calls for that period. Looks like it's down from previous months, but it was a short month, so it's on par with what we've been seeing in months prior. Nothing I'd really comment on the 27 calls that we did have in that period. I would like to mention that next weekend is our annual Bucket Sit fundraiser, so if you see us out around the Superstore, that's what we're up to. I would also like to mention, it's been asked at a number of meetings what the status of the emergency plan is and whatnot, and I've stated that I had it ready, but I did reach out to the regional NBEMO coordinator recently and asked her if she might be interested in coming in and discussing, in particular, evacuation plans and what role the province would have to play in large-scale evacuations, because I'm responsible for a municipal plan, but there's going to be overlap of provincial resources that I do not have authority, or we do not have authority to delegate tasks to. But in order to carry out large-scale evacuations like you've seen out west, obviously we're not going to be able to do that ourselves. So I've asked for that, haven't got it, but I did get agreement that she would come and sit down and talk. So might be able to elaborate a little bit more on how these plans would work moving forward. So that's a positive note. Don't really have anything else to bring up with respect to Protective Services, but I'm thinking there might be some questions, so I'll take those.
Just on the number of encampment cleanups, how many was that? And are you keeping record of the resources or the hours and stuff so that we know what the cost is for that?
Not in particular. Last month, I think we had a couple locations that we went to. Typically, it's not a huge expense. We're in and out of there in an hour or so. So it's not a huge expense, really.
a town-owned.
Property, it's always it's always just our own. We have no jurisdiction to go on private.
Sure. Council Cornish?
Sean, just a question on properties that are basically in bad shape, or whatever you want to refer to. I've spoken several times about the large concrete blocks that's on Milltown Boulevard next to the restaurant. I don't know where to bring it up, and I don't want to put it off till next month because I received a phone call, and I forward all of you the business owner's report. It's at 25 Union, 25 Milltown Boulevard. And in that property, according to the pictures, and according to the lady that owns the business, it is in bad shape. This individual has a beautiful apartment above that complex that she and her husband cannot live in anymore because of rat infiltration. If you look at the back of the building, it's a total disaster. There's garbage, there's a wall falling down. Unsafe looking to me, I'm not an expert in that field. But she lives between two. It's the recreational area, or Bernie's Body Blast, I guess it's called. And in that area, that's surrounded by two buildings that's in real bad shape. And I'm wondering if we can have some immediate action. I know I brought the first one up at least twice before in the last 3 or 4 months. And this one here, I feel real bad about this lady and her business because a lot of people go in there and, man, that building is in terrible, terrible condition. And it gets to the bad, you cannot live in your home or your business because of smells, rats, and God knows what else. So between those two buildings, I think the other one's a real eyesore too. And that's when they got those concrete blocks out front again. I don't see anything being done for that for the last 6 months. So that's what I'm gonna say. I don't know how to solve it, but I know our business people must be getting, and our residents also, really frustrated with no action being taken. So that's all I'm gonna say, and I have to throw that ball to you guys.
You want to repeat the same thing you say every time? Like, no, okay.
I'll just say I can't talk about it. End of story.
Which is provincially regulated. So.
Read between the lines what that means, but I can't talk about it.
Yes.
I know we can't talk about it. Well, this has been going on for months and maybe even a year or more. But telling a homeowner or residence or a business that it's in progress and not knowing what's in progress, and it's been a long progress, I wouldn't want to be out of my house for 6 months or a year or not even know when we come back into it again. So I am not, I gotta be honest, I am not pleased with that answer. I am not satisfied with that answer. And I'm just gonna say it the only way I can say it. We gotta get off our ass and do something.
Totally agree with the situation. I'm not just, it is discouraging. But what is it that we can do? We can't change the laws. We can fight and ask them to change them, but we have a process we have to follow. And if I got that right, I don't know what more we can do. And we got to stay out of that process too. Especially as a counselor, we got to stay out of that process. And it's just like this one we're voting on tonight. That went through the process. That's when we come in as counselors. I know you don't think anything's done, but there is a process going on behind the scenes right now. And you got to have trust. You can hate the process all you want and all the red tape and all that stuff, but that is the process. So, go ahead.
I know it's the process, but that is what I just said, I said. It's not me that's saying it. It's our residents that's saying it. I'm repeating it.
Yeah, no.
They do not understand. To be honest about it, I understand rules and regulations, but I still don't understand how we're letting our town literally disintegrate with all these derelict buildings hanging around. And I understand what you're saying. I understand process and procedures. I worked with them all my life. I just don't understand when a resident comes to us, and I feel for them. I just want to let them know that we're on their side. But boys, I'm telling you, if I lived in one little place like that, I'd be up at that pulpit real quick, and it wouldn't be as polite as I am now.
Yes, and I'm sure everyone in here would love to take action on it today. Like, I don't think there's one of us around this table, including staff, that would want to take action on it. But we are forced to follow the process, but you got to let people know the process is obviously being acted on, and it's time stamped. And I know we explain this every time, and it's just anyway. I'll just leave it at that. It's sad, but anyway.
I think part of the challenge is, for many of our residents, they feel that the confidentiality of the process outweighs their business or their home. So it's more of an emotional feeling of that's so frustrating that they're protected in this process that's long term, and yet here I am owning this home and I'm not privy to any of that information. So I do think it's also important to note that, yes, come to us over and over and over again. But citizens honestly have more power than councilors in many ways when it comes to advocating with your provincial and federal reps. So when we talk about RCMP, they've got federal laws that make it so they can't take action about, to simple things that we would have seen as simple crimes at one time, the federal law no longer allows for. Same with provincial, things that come into place and hold us back. So I think keep sending everything to us and we will keep engaging in the process, but it's also really important to involve your MLA in these conversations, because once it gets up to the province, we need things to be speedier. Like, it sounds like what we need quicker answers for residents and more transparency and clarity for them that's not ongoing for 6 to 8 months to a year or more. And it's challenging too when it's my understanding that once the person who has the building that's dilapidated starts to comply, that the file somewhat closes and the process starts over again. So, obviously we can't control everything, but it still disrupts the community experience of our residents. So if we can just lobby and advocate for that, I'd be willing. I agree with you, Councillor Cornish. I think the problem is people feel there's a lack of transparency, and all they want to know is that something is happening so that they can make decisions moving forward. But it's hard to say. Do you sell your home? Do you list it? Do you close your business? Do you leave it open? Has the case closed? Is it open again? It's that type of thing, I think, that's the most challenging for people. So if we could find a way to lobby for that process to be a little bit more quick. I have full faith that we're doing what we need to do on our end to move things along our process. I just wonder when it gets to the provincial level, how quickly that's dealt with.
No comment.
Okay. I don't know, to just kind of want to repeat the process and the timelines, how it takes, just so it might help.
Well, it's complicated. Not all processes are the same. The one that's here in front of us tonight that I can sort of speak about started a number of months ago, and we made progress, and then progress stalled, and we carried on, and then there was a fire which aggravated it, and I have to stop there but there are other factors that are private that contributed to that handcuffs us. And it could be any one of you that get into that situation. There was 2 situations. There was a garage that burnt, and then there was the other stuff. If your garage could burn tonight, you're going to have the same rights as those people have as far as getting that cleaned up. I can't come in tomorrow and say, you got to clean this up today, or I'm gonna. Only in certain circumstances. If it's deemed dangerous and, likely that someone is going to get hurt, we can take action. But in that situation, it wasn't. It didn't meet that threshold. So we had to let insurance and other things like that play out. And I have to give the citizens the opportunity to deal with we notify them. They have due process. It doesn't matter if it's a late water bill or any of these things. There's due process, and we follow that. But every situation is different. Some, at best, you're looking at 4 or 5 months, but some drag on 8, 9, 10 months, and in other cases, some got mentioned here earlier, they may drag on for years, because we may get to a point where if they dig in their heels, we may have to go to court. And if we have to go to court, you know how that process works. So there is no clear-cut timeline. It depends on a lot of factors. It's frustrating from my point of view when citizens just assume because they don't see anything that we're sitting on our asses doing nothing. Don't care. Don't care. Drive by, don't care. And then now I'm getting it here. It's frustrating that they think that we're just not doing anything. We are following the rules as they're dictated to us to the letter. We end up in court sometimes over these things. There's a case that we're going to court over did we follow due process, and it might cost the town some money. So we have a responsibility to everybody to do this right. And the people that work on these type of files, we have a lot of experience at it. And we know what we're doing. And that's all I can say.
Just for clarity, you mentioned if someone gets hurt or something, you can apply action or whatever. What if you get bit by a rat? Is that what it takes to have something done? If a property is being infested by rats from an adjacent property, does the person actually have to get bit by a rat before we can actually take action? That's just a comment, question. I don't know.
I have no authority over rats, regardless of whether somebody gets bit or not.
If you get a higher number of calls on one specific property, does that help you? Because I'm trying to think about ways that citizens could feel empowered to, and I'm wondering about that. It really just comes down to what the state of the property is like, whether it's actually dangerous or not, whether it's up to code, things like that, and that's where it ends. So you're saying 4 to 5 months if maybe it's not a huge case. When you say when it comes down to years, would those be the properties that comply and then no longer comply and comply and no longer comply? Because even that is helpful, just knowing a timeline of 4 to 5 months up to years. It does allow for the property owner to make a decision of some sort about how they're going to move forward. Because I think that is the big struggle for neighbors in these situations, is figuring out, okay, am I gonna stick this out? Is my property value going to decrease over time? Should I get out now? Should I stay? It's just, so there's nothing, in terms of the more citizens that call, that doesn't make a difference. It comes down strictly to regulations, codes, policy, process.
One call. Or sometimes we don't need a call. Sometimes we'll initiate it ourselves. But no, multiple calls will not change anything. We will look at it, assess it based on what the act that is adopted in our bylaw says very strictly. These are the guidelines. And if it meets those criteria, we go through the process. If it doesn't meet the criteria, just because I don't like the looks of it, doesn't cut it.
We're with you on that, Sean, too, actually.
Should have recorded that and just played it back.
No, that's just, anyway.
I'll repeat it next time. I'll repeat it next time. It's being recorded. Yes, everybody can see it on TV.
Okay, as I can see, we're all frustrated over this whole, everything. I get it. And we all feel like we're causing delays here. And I know we say this every time, we're not. I'd love to have the wand that just takes care of these things, seriously. Or the excavator, or whatever it is. I would do it myself, but maybe someday they're going to arrest the mayor down there with an excavator, just start tearing places down. But anyway, sorry. Let's move off that topic. Where were we? Deputy Mayor, CA report, protective services. Did you do the infrastructure one? No. Okay. Okay.
Are we there?
Yeah.
Thank you. So you see the usual list that Foreman Beach prepares for me every month on what the infrastructure crews have done. I don't have a whole lot to comment on his list. It's a lot of the normal stuff we do in the summer, this time of year. I would elaborate that number 3 under my director's activities talks about quotations and negotiations with contractors, sidewalk repairs. We did make some progress on that, and locates are going in, and you should see some work starting on King Street sidewalks within the next 2 weeks. Asphalt, I'm very pleased. Most mornings, the last week or two, well, this week, I wasn't here last week, but the last few weeks, I meet the truck going to get a load of asphalt in the morning. Weather's been cooperating. A lot of days we've been getting 2 loads. King Street, Queen Street, Union Street have received a lot of patching. Some of the secondary roads, I think River Street's on our list. There's a lot of work needs to be done on that little road, and some of the other side streets, you might start to see us starting to hit those now that the main thoroughfares have been somewhat looked after. Also, I'd like to make a note that in the coming weeks, we will be doing some water and sewer work on Wall Street, so there'll be some detours and whatnot. We have that's unbudgeted, unplanned work. We've got a line up there, sewer line that's collapsed, and we just have to replace it. So we're going to try and do that, as much of that as we can out of our budget, and hopefully we don't run over too far.
Nothing difficult. I'm just trying to remember. Remember there was a moratorium on funding for King Street for so many years? Was that coming up off pretty soon, isn't it? I thought it was probably.
We got notice that we are approved for funding in 2026 for basically mill and pave for King Street, or a good large section of King Street, which we are currently working with our engineers to make sure that anything we want done as far as underground or anything like that is done. It will be part of your 2025 capital discussions, so that we get it in before the new pavement comes and we're not tearing up new pavement. So, but we did get a note from the province that there was funding being reinstated for King Street in 2026.
Thanks. Because I'm getting a lot of questions of like why we're just spreading out little bits of concrete, or asphalt. I mean, it would be kind of crazy for us to go and spend taxpayers' money on paving whole street when it's going to be reinstated in 2026, and that was my answer before. I didn't know when it was going to be reinstated or if it was, but I knew that moratorium was on for a few years, right? And I remember seeing that letter. So good that hopefully people be a little bit lenient on that. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Is that it for your report, John? Councilor Rodas?
The guys are doing a great job. They're out there every single day. The roads look great. I've been driving them. I'm a bit of a speeder. I hope the cops aren't watching, but they're really nice. They're much smoother than they were. So really appreciate the work. I took a picture of them. I'm going to post it because they were all smiling awkwardly, and the fresh steam was coming off the pavement, and I couldn't be more pleased. So make sure you thank those guys for doing such a great job. Don't call the cops.
Well, you just did. No. No, anyways, no. Thanks for the good comments to our staff, because they probably deserve it and appreciate it. No, they don't probably. They do. Sorry. Gee, wrong choice of words. Okay. We're going to be here till midnight. Okay, let's see. So thank you, DBCAO. Next up, Alex.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yeah, we presented the municipal plan background study to the CAO, and council could get a look at that on September 11th for your committee of the whole. So I think just circling back to one of the questions at the public comment period about the Mining Act and exploration requests. So that's kind of a newer thing with your municipal boundaries expanding outward to encompass some areas that currently don't have a land use plan. So this new municipal plan for the municipal district at St. Stephen and the background study that's complete in a draft form now, it will enable for a new bylaw to be adopted for the whole municipal district. So it's the first step towards that. And with regard to mining and those exploration requests, that's something to do with the way the Mining Act's written, and they've had to request that municipalities are notified and consent when there's exploration in your territorial boundaries. So it's something that happened in the past, but you just wouldn't have had something like that in the former town site where you wouldn't have mining opportunities in the urban boundary, so to speak. So where your land use plan can deal with surface mining activities, resource excavations, it's something to be looked at, but doesn't preclude you from making a decision about this consent tonight without the land use plan in place. So hopefully that addresses that question.
More clarification on that?
Sure. So basically, you can address that company's request currently without a land use plan in place. So you're not required to have that in place in order to address what they want. You can choose to. It's council's discretion to wait until you have a land use plan. But as I said, the land use plan is only going to address the surface mining activities. It actually can't prevent staking and exploration. So when someone goes to do a mining development and it has buildings and excavations of the surface, that's when we would be looking at, is it comply with the zone that council's established, and would we issue a development approval for it under that, or is there a rezoning where there's public notification and so on for it? So that's the kind of thing that the community might be involved in the future if there's a land use plan in place out there. But the staking and claiming can't be regulated by the municipality. They can still do this consent thing where they're asking you for your permission and consent and how it's worded exactly. I'm not an expert in the Mining Act, but that's kind of more or less how it goes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did that just so we could all hear that one point, because the consent part. I mean, even if we didn't consent, it's.
Yeah, there's a process. I think they can go kind of above council if you don't consent. Yeah, go to a mining board, I think. Yeah.
Yes, Councilor East.
But again, you just said that we could establish a bylaw on that area to say that, we don't want any mining within the municipality?
So you do need to have a municipal plan that encourages resource developments where they're appropriate. So areas that there would be mineral activities and areas that would be low population density. The province is not just encouraging you, but requiring you to pre-zone some of these locations for development. Otherwise, there just wouldn't be any minerals anywhere, because the impacts, people don't really like the idea of the potential for impacts, but we do need aggregates and so on. So you do have to have zones for this activity, but council can decide where they are. So if they're too close to population centers, you can decide not to have that as a potential. And so council has the authority to control the surface land activities. Subsurface activities, and as I said, staking and claiming, you don't have any control over.
Okay. Okay, you get more of your report there.
Yeah, no worries. So moving on, we met with CMHC regarding your second HAF application, the Housing Accelerator Fund. So we have some positive comments on this first draft, and if you have any questions about that, I would refer you to the CAO to address some more specifics. PRAC approved an accessory dwelling unit, so this is a second smaller house on the lot at 11 Pagan Street, and the condition for that approval was that the entrance for the front door of that accessory dwelling unit faces the street, so it kind of looks compatible with the streetscape. PRAC also approved a private access subdivision off Ledgewood Drive, and this facilitated 2 agriculture homesteading type lots where there's a house and agricultural fields left in place. With development, you've had 71 building permits that have been approved and reviewed by zoning for compliance with your bylaws, and 11 new in this past month. We've had 31 development permits and 9 in the past month. So your total construction value year to date is almost $7 million. There's been 13 subdivision applications with 20 new building lots added to the district and 3 new in the past month. We've had 14 zoning confirmation letters, 13 variance or terms and conditions applications that have been processed, and 3 in the past month. And we've had 16 net new dwelling units, so that's 16 new homes if you minus all the demolitions, and 6 new homes in this past month. So that concludes my report. Thank you. If any questions, I can take them.
It looks like you're good. Thank you. All right. Kev Sumner, Community Service Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to start off by thanking Sean and his crew, Dave Beach and the guys, that they came to the community's help on a couple of occasions. The one already mentioned tonight was with the bandstand. It was the long weekend, and the other one was the Canada First basketball event when we got a late request to add a banner above King Street, and it was we got that up. Well, the guys got that up and got it down, and then we got another one up. So really appreciate the crew. It's they the other items I'll just carry on with the pools that we have in town. Kind of means the end of the summer. The Milltown pool closed the last weekend. We were incredibly pleased that there was no closures besides the odd fouling for the liner. We got through by the skin of our teeth. The kind of the patches have got patches themselves, so we really are pleased that we got through. I'm not looking forward to what Sean tells us the consumption of water was, because we did put in water meters at the beginning of the season. But yeah, it really emphasizes that that liner up there, it is hanging on, and we might have to come to you in even the fall or the early part of next year with our cap in hand, so to speak, because it's a great asset, well used, but yeah, it's in need of a bit of love. And the pool here at the GCC, we have the small therapy pool is closed. The work that we did last year on the pool deck, the final phase of that is being done right now. They found some hidden gems that they usually do when you crack things open. But the good news is that the tiling should be done maybe even a few days early. We'll be able to shave some time off our predicted opening. So stay tuned for that. But that's some good news that the contractor got in on time and is well ahead of schedule. So pleased with that. We want to thank Michelle and her crew for the busy August that it always is with festivals. We had Chocolate Fest and the International Fest, and thanks to all the councillors that came out and helped with that. It was a good event, from start to finish. From the Chocolate Fest, we had the Hands Across the Border, we had the parade. So yeah, it was very successful, and now we kind of focus on the fall and winter, and we're getting ready for hockey season and the end of summer, so to speak. So there isn't anything else unless there's anything from the report that brings up questions. There's nothing new. It's busy as always in community services. So.
Okay, thank you, Kev. Any Councillor Wright?
I just had one question.
question. Oh, sorry, I had one question about the Legion Field update. The development permit for the changes and upgrades to fencing, does that include the new parking space? Is that what that's referencing as well?
Yes.
Councillor Heislop?
Thanks for putting up that sign, and I think Tom was devastated because he didn't realize the two signs had two different names on them, so it was a 50-50 chance, and he really apologizes. He said, I'll pay for it to even put it up. Is there any way we can put any, like, a permanent, I know it'd have to go through MB Power and whatever the powers that be up above that, but we should be able to put a pulley system up there that we don't have to get up there every time. Is there a possibility, like, you know, you put a couple of pulleys at the top and just wind it up, like a couple strings on it, just attach it to it and bring it up? It might make it easier, because we do a lot of those. We don't do a lot, but we do 2 or 3 a year, right? That might be a thing to look forward. You know, it might save a lot of time for it to easy to go up and down, right?
That's probably a question for Chief, because it's his crew that helped us out. As I said, it was, yeah. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it might be something to look into.
Councillor Eastman?
Yeah, Kev, does Michelle ever have a wrap-up at the end of the event so that they can talk about pros and cons of what happened?
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of the things we especially, let's use the example of the International Fest. We started work with the City of Calais and their volunteers in February, and now that there's a little bit of time before hockey starts, hockey season starts, we are going to have a review, because there are things that always come up. They've got a few volunteers that have left, and so we want to review if things worked, if they didn't work, and we'd like it if there's any feedback from the community through council. We've got a chance, and Deputy Mayor Wheaton is always at the meetings as well, so you'll be able to channel it through us, and we'll get the message for sure. And just, I got a message from Dave. We'll get the power turned off at the bandstand tomorrow. So.
Well, that worked fast.
It's Dave.
Some words from the Deputy Mayor, who's active in the International Festival. Thank you.
Yes, I want to thank all the people that work from the center. I mean, sometimes you don't realize how much goes in. Like, I went to the International Festival meeting, so we have to go with the American and all the issues and problems that come up, and they do a great job solving them all. And like the people watching the parade or watching fireworks, I mean, they just enjoy it, and they don't realize all the work that's gone into it. So really a big thank you goes to the whole staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, Kev, thank you. Now, Tim Dozier, Treasurer Report. Your last one.
I should have given to you before. Questions. Thanks, Mayor. As usual, the staff activity since the last report, not much difference there than the previous month with it. Meetings, we've been having a number of meetings with MNP, with and without them, related to the financial system and process review, and that's moving along. Capital projects, as you can see, they're in various stages of completion, and various other projects that are going on right now. Going to the statements of revenue and expenditures for June. So so half the year, 50% of the year, of course. Looking at the numbers for the general operating fund, it's showing a surplus right now of $759,000. The utility operating fund showing a small surplus of around $39,000, with the utility bills just having gone out for the month of June there. And finally, the check register listing for the month of July showing checks paid of a little bit over 1.3 million, with the listing there behind it. So That's basically it, unless somebody has any questions.
Councilor Otis.
How many coffees does one man consume in retirement at Tim Hortons? Just a guess. Just a guess. It's just a numbers guess. Am I?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. The last one. Okay, no, okay, so anyway, thank you, Tim, and we'll be talking to you after this meeting. I'm gonna give you a big hug here. All right, next up, Future St. Stephen.
Thank you. So some of the biggest things happening right now is obviously looking forward. We've been approached by a lot of local leaders recently. As I mentioned last time, people are focusing more on economic development, so we're hearing kind of the different projects that people are interested in. We're working on pulling on a few other board members that we're interested in joining as well, since if people come and talk to us, we're probably going to ask. And, you know, we're just looking forward to working with the council to hear about the strategic priorities. Obviously, we, through our work, understand certain sides of it, but having that municipality side to it is helpful as well when we're looking for partnerships and projects. The note about the hotel is mainly just to stress, as we all understand, the importance right now of the hotel project. Nothing underlying there, but to continue to stress that there is obviously certain opportunities available right now. We feel like this is a good time, and that the hotel project, as we all know, is preventing or maybe hindering some other projects that could potentially be more successful or have more of an economic impact. So it's going to stay at the top of the list, and mainly also, she's not here tonight, but also so Marg always knows that the hotel is the top of our list, because we do feel that it's important, and we want to continue to support that to get that hotel here in town, in the community. Tying into that, we did have a great presentation from Richard regarding the world's oldest basketball court. So just gave us an update of where they were just prior to the Archie, and the work that they're doing is you know, should be definitely, all of us in the community should thank every person on that board for what they're pulling together. It is a great tourism asset. It's a great historical and cultural asset, and it can help a lot with economic development, especially tying that with the hotel. That and the downtown core can create a lot of economic impact that would spill out to local businesses and restaurants and really revitalize kind of some of our areas. So we feel very strongly that we'll help that group with anything that they need, and where we can help is encouraging the hotel again and again. So we're probably going to continue to just push how important that hotel project is. We do have some good news. Just a quick thank you to the 10X Property Group, who took over the 99 King Street, so the old St. Stephen Inn project. They did notify us. They do have them posted now. Their top units are rented, so all of that project will be completed by, they believe they're saying October, but definitely November, which adds quite a few units. They are a mixture of bachelors, 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, so that would be some more rental units added to the inventory in town, and definitely centrally located units, which is great. And we'll continue to kind of pursue any other projects that we can. Great news about the different funding that's becoming available for the different properties through the CMHC funding, because obviously we're still hearing stories of people looking for housing in the community.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Any questions, Council? Emily, or Councilor Rodas?
Thanks, John. I just want to thank you for really the big push on housing. I think that that's something that it's a really tough one, because it affects our, you know, the individuals that live in our community, but most of the programs are obviously coming from a federal or provincial organization in nature. So it is challenging for us, and I think it's wonderful to have a group like Future St. Stephen really invested in the housing side of things, because it is a huge challenge, and it's also really difficult to bring people together around a table in a municipality. to talk about housing and the deep concerns that we have here, especially related to everything we talked about tonight. So just want to appreciate you and all the volunteers around the board that work so hard to kind of tackle these projects. And I think the hotel is fantastic, and the world's oldest basketball court, I mean, that is an amazing project. I'm super excited. I know that Archie was very successful, I think, again this year. So I'm just hoping that we can continue to support them deeply in community, and that all of the community recognizes how wonderful of a project that is for our community. So, but thanks for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all your work, and the world's oldest basketball court that Archie was unbelievable. I mean, that sign came up, and they split that. They split a little bit of their time here in St. Stephen, and that courtyard was full of about 200 people. Like, you have Jack Armstrong that is announcer for the Raptors. You have Sherman. You have Dave Grange. The 3-on-3 one was one of the top. I'd say that word's going to spread quite fast with the 3-on-3 tournament. I attended that the next day. That was just unbelievable. Diane Norman spent a lot of time on it, and Tom Liston, and a lot of volunteers there. I don't want to leave anybody out. There's a lot of volunteers there. And the kids had a great time. It was really impressive, some of the talent that we have at a young age. And kudos to Five Kings and Lisa there. It put off a great spread over there. Everybody was impressed. You had these people from outside of town, first time coming to St. Stephen, some of them. And spending time in downtown core and going across to see the basketball court after was in awe. So if you get those people on board, we're going to go some places, that's for sure. So, thanks.
Yes, you're still your topic, so.
Yeah, I would say, and that's something that we discussed with Richard, is the biggest thing right now that's a dedicated core of volunteers, but obviously it is still, there's only so many people that are volunteering. I don't think maybe in the community as a whole we recognize fully how important, that basketball court can be for our economic future. And I do think it is something that we need to get behind fully. So any opportunity we can to support, they're doing great work. We have to give a shout out to Kev's wife, because Louise is doing amazing work with organizing and running and keeping everybody going and posting everything out. And really, I would say from the way that those things in economic development, it's not a sexy topic. It's not like woohoo, but the thing is that the way that residents can help with that is by showing support for those projects. They may not have the finances to contribute for what they're fundraising, but if they're showing the support for the events and for the projects and letting you guys know how important it is, that's what's going to really move that and keep that group motivated. Public thank yous, we may all think that, hey, it's not a big deal, but they do encourage people to keep going, and that is a really important project if we're looking at tourism and the economic development in the summer for the downtown core.
Go ahead, Councillor.
But yeah, Louise did a fantastic job, and also some of the ones that aren't on the board, like you had Emily Summers was involved in the basketball, the 3-on-3 tournament, and she did a great job, and they're pulling other people into the community that is just not on the board, but they're just people that show up and volunteer their time to set these things up, and that was a huge help. And I hate saying thanks to people and then forgetting somebody's name, but I'm sure I have, and I know I have, because I just remember 2 of them when you mentioned it. So.
Yeah. See if I can get this right. So it is very important to back up things like this. I know it's hard for some people to understand that we're investing into large projects like that as a community, and the province and the feds for that matter. It is challenging, but I went through it with the walking trail. No one thought here we are putting pave on a trail, and why aren't we paving King Street? I get it, but trails, paved streets, basketball courts, paved streets. We still need to move forward regardless of all the other troubles that we talked about tonight. We need to keep pushing forward, and it is important that the community does understand that. It's challenging. I get it all on both sides, and it's hard when you're sitting around this table when you're investing tax dollars into that. But we do know there's return. And it's a great thing to have in a community. We can't change it. We have the oldest basketball court in the world, and we got a lot of excitement brewing. We got to keep that excitement brewing, And we do our best to support it and bring this to fruition. And it takes time. This building we're sitting in here took 13 years till the doors open. That took a lot of sweat and tears to get there to here too. You know, there's a lot of people didn't think this place should be here, and it got proven wrong. And you see those people that are against it are in here enjoying this facility now and commenting on how much they love it. So it's all related. We got to keep moving forward, regardless of all the other big issues that we have going on. This is important, and I appreciate everyone's work and. For all, so we don't miss anyone. Anyone that's had their hand on that or even touched it, thank you. Councillor?
I'm just going back 12, 13 years when your father and I worked when this place was being constructed. We were on that board for 3 years. We heard a lot of negativity about the amount of money that was being spent here, how are we going to do it, and all that sort of thing. And looking back now, it's almost a parallel process. Once this building does get completed, and I'm pretty confident that it will with the people that's involved in it, I think I haven't heard anything negative really about it, because I think this had broke some of the paradigms from the past. This building has been a real asset to the community. It actually does cause a lot of reaction because we make money for our restaurants and other things in town because of all the hockey teams and everything else. Magnify that with basketball teams coming in, a museum, you might say, a world-class operation. And I think if we can get that and our hotel pulled off here in the very near future, that we'll have some great success again. So we'll have 2 major things downtown here. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so we've heard all of the reports, and I had the mover and seconder. There's no more questions. All those in favor of accepting the departmental reports? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much. All right, new business. Let's see, can I move into all that list, or I can do each one separately? Yeah, I do. Okay. Well, actually, I'll start off with the proclamation. Terry Fox Day, September 15th, 2024, whereas Terry Fox was forced to give up his run in September 1980, and whereas his legacy lives on through the passion and determination of Canadians and people around the world, and whereas Terry's dream of a world free of cancer is kept alive with the hope it will soon be realized. And whereas Terry was not a quitter, he just ran out of time. The values, the courage, the strength, caring, and the kindness are of a true Canadian hero. Today, we are at his time. Therefore, I, Mayor Alan McCachran, do hereby proclaim September 15th, 2024 as Terry Fox Day in the Municipal District of St. Stephen, New Brunswick. Okay, request for decisions. I will take a mover and seconder for the dangerous or unsightly premises on 34 Rose Street. That council authorized the expenditure of $3,137.20 to contract J. Jackson and Sons Construction Incorporated to clean up the property located at 34 Rose Street under the dangerous unsightly premises bylaw 12-23. Councilor Otis. Councilor Heislip. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, sorry. Any questions? Sorry. Thank you, Councilor. Any questions? Yep.
How do we determine the contractors in this case? Do we have it's less than a certain amount of money, so we don't have a tendering process. Do you just contact 3, or does it?
We get a minimum of 3 bids for each of these jobs, and we try to circle around. Yeah.
Do you have follow up? Do you have a list of those people, or if somebody had to get on that list, or do you just typically it's the same ones that?
We know in town the contractors that meet the requirements to do work for the town, so we use those. We also know who typically will bid these jobs. We have ones that this one happens to be a new one. that's added to our list of potential contractors for these types of things.
I stumbled on the name, and I think in Jackson's Construct, yeah, anyway, so thank you for the clarification. Any more questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, Library Board renewal of term for EHAT. Proposed resolution that council approve the renewal of St. Croix Public Library Board member Elva Hatt for a two-year term. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Wright. Councilor Cornish. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, and thank you, Elva. Been a lot of years there actively in the library. All right, now I'll need another mover and seconder for Galloway Metals request for municipal consent. Proposed resolution that the council consent with the mayor and CAO signing the notice of planned exploration work within the municipal boundaries as submitted by Galloway Metals, Inc. Councilor Wright.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Wheaton. Questions?
Question.
Yeah.
Do we know exactly where these guys are going to drill? Because this map really doesn't say anything. So we're going into this blind. Yeah, regardless of private property, there's other things that you got to look at. St. David Ridge is the fault line's not too far away from there either. So it's like, I would like a little bit more information before we vote on yay or nay on, exactly where it's located so we can do our research.
Okay, just clarification, like when you say we do our research, you mean like?
Well, the councilors can.
Oh, okay, like investigate?
Yes.
Okay, I get you. Okay, yeah. Councilor Wright?
I was just going to say, it's my understanding this counts as the last piece in the puzzle, and this request comes to us once they've met the requirements to go before the Department of Environment and all of the other departments that may be involved in people exercising their exploration rights under their state claims. So I'm not sure. This is, from my understanding, when it's an exploration claim like this, council is more a formality. It's a courtesy. It's a courtesy to them, is my understanding.
It's complicated. Our consent is required under the Act. In the particular case that we're looking at here, this work had already received all its required approvals from the mining recorder's office prior to amalgamation happening and the borders moving. So I mean, if they had moved faster, they wouldn't even have to talk to us at all. But they do require it now because the boundaries have been moved. So it's up to you whether you want more information than the maps that are provided. The reason I brought it here because we had the talk about the previous discussion about the forms, and quite frankly, administration wasn't 100% clear on what changes needed to happen, and we thought the best way to do it was to do a trial run with the forms that we've admittedly borrowed from our friends in Woodstock, who's been doing this a lot longer than we have, and bring it here. If it gets tabled for more information, that's perfectly fine. Happy to do that as long as we can understand what it is you want us to bring back. And but yeah, this was kind of the trial balloon to see what you guys are comfortable. What was going to make you guys comfortable for the consent for these files, so that when we're building this up as a living document, we get better each time.
Yeah, just holy. Okay, holding a lot of hands up here. Yeah, like this is new to me, and I am as just confused on this matter as any, and I have no problem testing the waters on consent or no consent, not me personally, but I had no problem waiting for more information, and I was more about what Alex was talking about, getting them the plan in place first. Yeah. So anyway,
population density we don't know, and that's going to be a big factor because as you take a look down in their attended operation times, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week. I mean, if they're close to a population group, then you can, noise and everything else is gonna happen, you know.
We don't have bylaws in place probably. Yeah. Yeah. Councilor Greenlaw? Or was it already said?
Well, pretty much the same thing. Just wait till we get the plan done. To Ms. Best's comments and to Councilor Eastman's comments, you know, we need a little bit of time to figure this out, to make sure that we're not stepping into something. So I think we should, you know, we can vote on it, but then I think we should back up and do some research. Wait till we get our plan in place so we know what areas that we might approve this type of operation in, if any.
Councilor Cornish?
Would it be the pleasure of the council to basically have the Gateway Metals come in and actually make a presentation? Maybe some of those issues could be actually answered live here. Would that speed up the process a bit?
Do we need to? Because we gotta look at the municipal plan.
I mean, they could come back in, from what I know about this, they could talk all day, and I still don't understand it enough to if I don't have a plan, and I like to see the plan too. That's just, again, that's just one vote here, but is it the pleasure? Oh, go ahead, Councilor Wright.
I was just going to reiterate that we aren't the experts in it, and if they've passed their clearances and this was all done before we amalgamated and they've met the requirements that the province has allowed them to get their permits, we're not the experts in it. And our plan, as Alex said, is going to have resource development as part of that. There will be areas inside our boundaries that it will be set aside for that. I'm sure he said it's a requirement. So where the heavy lifting was done would be before we amalgamated. I'm comfortable with going to a vote tonight, but if everybody wants to table, I'm okay with that too. But I don't like to be seen as we're trying to hold up something that was already pre-approved before we amalgamated, when the heavy lifting, the environmental regulations, all of that is done by the province that we're not the experts in.
Councilor Otis?
Well, and the other thing to note, as Councillor Wright said, this is really a courtesy call, and the work is off a private Irving road. It's on an Irving woodlot. It says no blasting, no disruptions, no municipal resources required. So for me, I think in a lot of ways this is kind of a good time to see what this process looks like and how it unfolds and better understand it with something that really, as Councillor Wright said, was already deemed good to go by provincial representatives prior to. And realistically, we can say we'd like more information and we can talk about it and they can come in at committee of the whole. I'm just not sure that's going to change anything. And so then we have to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of them coming? Is it to just understand their particular project, or is it to stop it? Because if it's to stop it, I don't think that's realistic. It seems like they've already done everything that they need to do. So just trying to figure out what our purpose of their presentation. But I'm not opposed to a presentation, because I actually think it's also good for them to come in and clarify and say, here's an example project and this is exactly how it will go. It's good for us to understand that. If our purpose is to try to cease it from happening, I don't know that we're going to win up against GMB and JD Irving.
Okay, Councilor Greenlaw, sorry. I was looking at Councilor Eastman.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it's probably going to happen, but you got to realize when this was approved before, the municipal areas weren't part of the town. So there was no consultation to anybody in the rural areas, I mean. No, there was no consultation. This was done by Government of New Brunswick, all approved, and then it would have just happened. Now that the rural wards are part, then they've got somebody to speak for them, somebody to actually look out for them. So we just want to make sure that we understand this process fully before we go ahead and say, yep, have at it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and more reference.
Yeah.
More info.
I'm just saying it shows pretty clearly that there's not any population density there. I mean, it's all trees and private woodlot from J.D. Irving. I'm comfortable with voting tonight. I don't. I mean, we go through the process the same as going through Department of Environment. They've done all their checks and balances. There's a Mineral Act that supersedes everything, so I'm good with voting it for this evening. But so if you want to go and table it, you can put it on the board, but
I'll vote no, I'll tell you that right out. I'm not comfortable with not having the information provided, that we need provided. It looks like trees, yeah, how many camps in there? You know, it's just.
So it looks like we're going to bring it on to vote?
Record the vote, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't, like I said, it's a tough one. I'm definitely on the fence on this myself, but it's just it's concerning what we're opening up. But we can say that it was already approved before our time, but it is our time now. So we do have to give consent here. They're obviously asking us for consent. We could probably say no tonight, and then it wouldn't matter anyway. But at least we. Do you want to go again, there, Councillor Rodas?
I just want clarity on, are we voting to make, what are we really voting for here? Are we voting to consent whether or not we agree with this work happening? Are we voting to have them come in for a presentation? Is that two separate votes? Are we voting to just accept their notice? Because that's what I'm confused by. This is a notice of planned exploration, and it doesn't seem like, if we do not align with it, that anything is going to change. Maybe, Jeff, you can answer to that.
The reason the document is written the way it is, and is through our friends in Woodstock, who actually have been doing this a lot longer. Under their protocols, they, much like you've talked about here, have decided, from my understanding, that they don't have the expertise to consent to the mining operations, because we don't have the expertise. So rather than providing a document that says consent, they sign a document saying we have received notice of these operations. They're going to be governed by the mining recorder's office, which they are, regardless of whether we consent or not. And basically, just like you say, it's a courtesy to say, yes, we know you're operating, and you're not going to use our roads, and we're not things like that. So there's a reason that we didn't use, it doesn't look like a notice of consent. It's more of a notice that, yes, we got your notice that you're going to be working in the area. Yeah, that's the rationale that Woodstock used, which is kind of what we're trying. The proposal was to borrow.
Well, so like anything, I like to see full consent, full support of council on things. But I don't. If there's concern, I'd like to hear it. Does what Jeff just explained make it a little bit better to swallow?
Nope.
Councillor Cornish.
Well, I've been listening here after I spoke, and I see what it is. I'm very familiar with mapping, and I agree with Councillor Eastman, but all I got from around the tables right now, we just don't seem to have a clear understanding what we're even talking about or what we're even voting on. So I'm going back again. Can we bring someone in for half an hour, explain what's going on to give us enough data? Because we don't, everybody's going to go off in their own way and try to figure out what's going on. If we had a lady or a gentleman or a crew, whatever it is, just come in for half an hour and explain what they're doing, and then we could say yay, nay, or whatever. So I don't think anybody's against it. I'm not sure. I think some people are against it, but I'm not sure anybody's for it either, because I don't have a clear understanding what it is. So I'm sort of like in neutral mode until I have more information.
With you on that one, Brian. So after hearing Councillor Cornish's comments, does anyone like to table this and get more information? I think we should. I'm seriously on the fence on this too, so I'm not ready prepared to vote. Or if I do, it might be no. So. Mm-hmm.
Can we table it with
Yeah.
a plan of inviting someone in?
Okay, so as per council's consent to the mayor and CEO for signing notice of plan exploration work within the municipal boundaries as submitted by Galloway Metals, Inc., I'd like to have a motion to table this until more information is provided.
I so move. Second.
Councilor Eastman, Councilor Greenlaw, any more questions? All those in favor of tabling?
Yay.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, hold on here. 1, 2, 3. Did it dice?
I voted.
Yeah, to table? Okay, all right, so it's voted down to table. All right, okay, all right. So it was, did I get this right? Eastman?
You got your motion to table.
No, but I know, but I was asked to calculate before we voted. So did you get the yays and nays? All right. All those in favor of tabling it? Okay. All those opposed? Okay. Now, make sure you record those for us, please. Thank you, Celeste. Motion carried to table. Thank you, council. All right. Mover and seconder for the proposed resolution, the request for meeting date changes. The council changed the date of the regular meeting of council from September 25th, 2024 to October 2nd, 2024. And that council changed the date of October 9th, 2024, and committee of the whole meeting to October 16th, 2024.
I so move.
Councilor Eastman, Councilor Cornish. Any questions on those date changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Mover and seconder for disposition of acquisition of municipal land policy. Mover and seconder for this proposed resolution that council approve the disposition of the acquisition of the municipal land policy as presented. Councilor Greenlaw,
Second.
Deputy Mayor Wheaton. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, council. All right. Yes, okay, a mover and seconder for the Station Square designated request. That council postpones any decision on this request until after the rebranding exercise is completed by end of 2025. Mover and seconder, please.
Move.
Councilor Eastman, Councilor Wright. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, council. All right. Mover and seconder for the assistance with the fiscal year 2024 financial reporting. The proposed resolution is that council award the contract for assistance with the fiscal year 2024 financial reporting to MNP LLP in the amount of $101,300 plus administrative expense fees and applicable GST and HST. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Wright, Councilor Greenlaw. Questions? Oh, you certainly can.
Thank you. Council will be aware, the proposal that's in front of you, I just want to go back to the public comment section, and the confusion, what appeared to be a confusion between the audit and the work that's being proposed here. The citizen mentioned the $17,000 a year to have the audit work done. That's a completely separate project. This is the work to prepare for those guys to come in and do the audit work. What this is essentially bringing in assistance for the internal accounting services that are, as we've openly discussed here, they're behind schedule from the legislative deadlines and have been. We are proposing to inject another of the MMP resources to assist Mr. Godso, who we fully expect will be serving as the acting treasurer in the short term, in getting through the whatever happens to not be completed by Mr. Tozer's departure on 2023, and to prep all the documents for the 2024 audit, so that it can be conducted by the April deadline and back to you, which would put us back on our legislative timelines. And as I've certainly advised council in the past, opens up a lot of, or at least removes some of the barriers to decision making and management that we've been fighting with over time due to the timing of some of our reporting. Fully agree with the citizens' comment that this is a significant amount of resources to bring to bear. But the council had previously directed me to find out what it would take to get us back on track in short order. Quite frankly, short order can be expensive. And there's a lot of resources coming into play here in order to get us back on track. I've talked with Mr. Godso, had a meeting with him and the consulting firm to talk through the logistics of how this would work and how the work would be done. I think he was Mr. Godso was a little leery when we started our meeting, and by the end of our call was quite intrigued and sees it also as a learning opportunity for himself for elements of audit preparation that Mr. Tozer had been spending the majority of his time on that Mr. Godso really didn't have that recent experience with. So it's also, as much as it's getting us back on track, it also serves as an education component for the remaining senior manager for that department, which is a nice kind of blend of items there. So we are keen administratively to get our audit and our financial reporting back onto the legislative timelines. And with that, we're asking for this dedication of resources that's proposed.
Yeah, I'll just add, or maybe you could better explain, because when I look at decisions like this, and I know we're spending a good sum of money, but I also look at return on investment. Can you maybe explain, or I could probably take a stab at it, but the funding that's available to us when we get this done, or the funding we don't get if we don't get this done, the availability of the funding and the future, what this investment does to the future of the municipality?
Sure. I mean, we've had to make some very strategic decisions over time, Tim and I, as we navigate we talked a lot about government processes. Some of the government processes, like being able to go to the capital borrowing board for money to team up with other funds maybe, we had to time things certainly at certain times of the year in order to make sure that we could get in the door because the audit documents, the financial statements, were behind. And after a certain point of the year, you are required to present those. If you get early in the year, they'll take the previous year. So it opens that up. It opens up some of our reporting, despite Tim and Frank's everybody's best efforts, and we were a little bit behind on things like our gas tax reporting. We didn't lose the money, but it's held until your reporting is done, and then it's moved over. So the flow will be eased as well, which lets us get on projects like the King Street lift station that we know needs upgrades, and that's where we would get the funds for that is from the Building Canada Fund now, I guess they call it, but the old gas tax. So there's those kind of hurdles that probably the general citizenry wouldn't see every day, but that Tim and I have become adept at managing and working our ways around through forethought and planning, getting those hurdles out of our way, getting them out of Mr. Godso's way in the short term, and is going to be beneficial across the board. Obviously, anytime we're out of sync with legislative timelines with GNB, it never makes us look great. And council has established one of our strategic goals is administrative excellence. And in that discussion, we talked about the first step of that was to get our reporting back on track, which is where the direction for me to figure out how to do that, what it would take to do that came from. So there's lots of moving pieces here. The ability to access funds in different ways, to team up with development incentives or whatever to help with economic development. All these pieces, we've Tim's department is, they're forgotten about sometimes in the corner as they all have their head down looking at spreadsheets. But it's the lifeblood of how we operate. And if that's struggling, everything else that's built upon it struggles. And so unfortunately, Tim's decided to leave us before we get it fixed for him, or help bring in the cavalry. But because I really wish he would be able to benefit from the less stress and things that we're going to end up with at the end of this. But that's what's going to what the end game of this is take the load off the department, take the load off the people that are left here. Originally, the goal was to take the load off Mr. Tozer himself, yeah, it's a costly investment, but I think it is absolutely critical to both short and long-term planning for you as councillors and for the future of the municipality.
Just hang on, Councillor. And I would just add that we all would see Mr. Tozer working here on Saturdays and Sundays a lot, and we felt that pain for you, and that was very concerning because there's a lot of stress on you. And so thank you on your Saturdays and Sundays as well. And much appreciated. Councilor Cornish?
Just to sum it, just want to make sure that we're on the same page. I'm going to talk very high level. Mr. Tozer's done a very good job. It's been an old process that you had to work with, and I'm sure it has been painful. This new firm that's coming in to do this, I'm going to call it study first and then implement. Basically, they'll be looking at new processes, what's broken, what's not broken, salvage what they can. Second, they go on the next one would be to come up with what we call a should map, and that's the way it could be or should be done. And then they'll be looking at another phase of it is what can be actually automated and generate reports and other things very rapidly, input and output. So if I'm incorrect, then throw something at me, but that's the way I see it. Is the payback here is it should be a much smoother process, procedures, and the data being dumped in can be manipulated and handled in a much faster way. So I think our payback will be tenfold.
So you've touched on kind of both projects simultaneously there. The first project that's going on deals with all those processes, finding those pain points, figuring out whether technology or human training or whatever it is to overcome those hurdles is. That's the one that's going to be finished in October, and you'll have that report in early October by the current plan. The proposal in front of you right now is just to bring in the extra accounting resources, kind of to work in parallel with that process as they're looking at how we long-term fix everything and get things running smoother. These guys are going to get it, just brute force, get everything up to date and ready for the audit firm to come in January, February. So you guys have your audit in April. So it's parallel processes working both towards the same goal.
Councillor Greenlaw.
So what are we putting in as far as a check and balance to make sure that we don't get behind and have to do this again? Are we going to do like monthly so that we, in next year we're going to make sure that January's audit reconciliation is done by the end of February and so on and so forth?
Yeah, that's precisely the procedures that I know. Some of the procedures that MNP is looking at in the procedural review side is what does month and closeout look like? Are we hitting all the stops at that point, or are we trying to do the sum and then come back later? So that's going to be in your October report. The checks and balances on this program will be a joint between Mr. Godso, who will be quarterbacking, not getting in their way, but making sure they have what they need and keeping things moving, as well as we have a dedicated quality control manager from MNP that's overseeing his staff. That's going to be actually on site, working directly with our team. So we got a few different ways to keep that project on the go while we're also building the new tools to make sure that we have sustainability of staying on track, which is the first project.
Sure, this is going to be a learning exercise as well for our corporate services, right? They're going to be side by side?
100%. They're one of the things we did talk that Mr. Godson and I talked about was that transition back. Like, this is a 1-year deal. This is a 1 year, come in and help us get the accounting on track. But come January, it's a process to hand those keys back over to our team. Like, this is how we've done it. This is how we should keep rolling down this road. So it's an education and skill improvement process as well in the end.
All right. No more questions? All those, did I read it all? Okay, so all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, mover and seconder to accept the two items of correspondence, the Safer Communities and Neighborhoods Program and the St. Croix Public Library 2023 budget annual report for information purposes only. Councilor Greenlaw, Councilor Eastman, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. And mover and seconder to accept the council reports. Councilor Heislip. Second. Deputy Mayor Wheaton. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, motion to close meeting to the public. Proposed resolution that that pursuant to Section 68, Bracket 1 of the Local Governments Act, council move to closed session for the purpose of discussing 1, financial matter, 2, negotiation of an agreement. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Oh, did I hold it? Okay, yeah, I forgot the move. Councilor Greenlaw, Councilor Rodas. There's no questions. All those in favor? Aye. Sorry about that, folks. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.